This episode of Hitched to Homicide contains detailed descriptions of sexual violence, murder, and disturbing criminal behavior. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
May 29, 1969, the outskirts of Salem, Oregon. A man is driving north with his family. It's a getaway, but a getaway from what? Unbeknownst to his family, this father and husband was a killer, one who didn't stalk in the shadows. He hunted in plain sight. In 1969, women began vanishing, and what turned up next wasn't evidence of murder. It was evidence of obsession. Stilettos, lingerie, photographs, and one frozen foot. This is a story of murder, shoes, and a fetish. This is Jerry Brudos, the Shoe Fetish Slayer. Hey y'all, I'm Chris Calvert.
And I'm her husband, Rob Potterf. Welcome to Hitched to Homicide.
For better or worse.
Till death do us part.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for our friends in Macedonia,
Okay.
merci veni.
Oh, and even Scotty got in on that
I know.
one.
He's down here at my feet and I can't catch him. And all he keeps doing is growling at me. Drive me nuts.
Well, wherever you're listening, be sure to subscribe to Hitched to Homicide. Then like, rate, and review the podcast so others who love true crime and are just like you can find us. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button below. If you want true crime with us all the time, please join our closed Facebook group, the In-Laws and Outlaws.
Yep.
Go to Facebook and type in H2H In-Laws and In-Laws and Outlaws.
Outlaws and in-laws. And
All of those good people.
Yep.
Answer a couple questions. You are in. Go join. I post photos and other information in there as well. It is just the best group of folks you have ever met in your entire life.
They're a lot of fun.
You can find us on Instagram at Hitched to Homicide or on X at H2H_podcast. And we also have a Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to send Rob some coffee because he drinks it every single episode.
In my new mug.
And you can find that link in our show notes as well. And finally, you can also send us a text. The link to that is at the top of the show notes where it says, send Chris and Rob a text.
Let us know what you're up to.
Well, sweetheart,
Yes.
buckle up for this one.
I'm buckling.
You got to buckle up for this one.
I have seat belts in my console chair.
You might need them.
All right.
This case was actually suggested by Emily Cornett, so thank you very much, Emily,
Thanks,
for
Emily.
suggesting this. You know, it's got a lot of my favorite things, true crime and shoes.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I have a little bit of a problem with shoes.
There's a lot of shoes in our closet.
Rob might say that, you know, it's a little more advanced than I might admit to, but
We're seeking therapy.
I'm not seeking therapy. I love my shoes.
No, shopping therapy.
Oh, well, I'm not seeking therapy for that either. I do love shoes, but this is a guy who has a fetish about shoes.
Okay.
Before we get started, let me thank some sources. All That's Interesting, biography.com, Reddit, OregonLive.com, Murderpedia, StrikeFans.com, World's Most Evil Killers, and Killer Psyche, just to name a few. There are a bunch of sources out on this. Some of them have conflicting information. I sort of did my best to go through all of it and try to figure out what I thought was actually real and what wasn't real.
All right.
But we shall see.
Okay. Well, you ready?
I am.
Let's do it.
Jerome Henry Brudos, he went by Jerry, was born on January 31st, 1939 in Webster, South Dakota to Henry and Eileen Brudos. He has an older brother, Larry, His father was a farmer, from what I could gather, or he left farming and then came back to it. But when his mother, Eileen, gets pregnant with Jerry, she's really upset. She didn't want another child, but she was going to have one anyway. So if she's going to have one, she's hoping she's having a girl. And when Jerry is not Geraldine, Eileen was very disappointed. I had to think of something quickly that was like Jerry and what a female name was, but
Well, can I tell my mom's story real quick, and I'll condense it so it's very fast? This was before I was born. She wasn't feeling well. She went to our family doctor and said, I just haven't been feeling, I'm tired, blah, blah, blah. So he ran some tests and stuff and got back to her and said, well, you're not sick. There's nothing wrong with you, but you are pregnant. And my mom, the innocent, God-fearing Christian woman that she was, looked at my doctor and said, how did that happen? And he said, well, if we got to go there, we got more problems than you being pregnant.
Yeah. Well, Eileen knew how she got pregnant, but she just didn't want another child. And when she decided, okay, I'm going to have a child, she just wanted it to be a girl and not a boy.
Right.
And when Jerry was born, she's very disappointed. And this sort of translated into her being openly hostile.
She's literally hostile with everyone.
To this child.
How can you do that?
I think she was a little knuck and futz.
Okay.
I think the mother was mentally ill, and it just sort of trickled down.
Right.
His mom, Jerry's mom, is very domineering. She's extremely critical of him. But Larry, his older brother, was the golden child. She showered him with love and approval. And Jerry's father and older brother both noticed that Eileen, the mom, is just flat out mean to Jerry. But they didn't stand up for him or intervene in absolutely any way, apparently because they were both afraid of her.
It sounds like it.
She's scary.
Yeah.
In 1944, Jerry's just 5 years old, and his family's now living in Portland, Oregon. His dad's doing well at this new job. And to get away from his mother, who hates him, and his brother, who teases him, or his whole family, basically, he liked to play in this junkyard that was near their home. And one day, little 5-year-old Jerry finds a pair of high heels shoes in this junkyard. I read that they were black, shiny, peep-toe heels. That's a favorite of mine. And Jerry loved them. He puts them on, and he kind of click-clacks around the junkyard, and then he takes them home with him. And he's excited to show his mom because he'd never seen a pair of shoes like this before. And when he shows his mother, she is very angry with him. She told Jerry that he was wicked for liking these high heel shoes. But Jerry was really obsessed with these peep-toe pumps. And she demanded that he throw them away, but instead he hid them in his room. Of course, she finds them, and she decides she's going to get rid of them on her own. She burns them right in front of Jerry, and then pushed him and beat him afterwards. Now, according to author Stephen Vronsky in Serial Killers, The Method and Madness of Monsters, 5-year-old Jerry Brudos could not understand what he had done wrong. The shoes came from the dump and nobody wanted them, yet by his mother's reaction, he saw that he was committing some sort of deeply forbidden act. And according to Stephen Vronsky, that was the moment that a fetish was born. Now, before I go on, I want to read to you a little bit about the history of a high-heeled shoe.
Okay.
This is probably just for the ladies.
All right. And I have, after that, I'll tell about the history of Converse tennis shoes.
Okay. It was really interesting, I thought. In 1533, Italian noblewoman Catherine de' Medici was set to be married to Prince Henry of France. But she's a tiny little thing. She's 4'9" tall. And maybe that's because she's 14 years old.
Hello.
But Catherine wanted to appear taller for her wedding. So she copied the 15th century male nobles, men wore heels first, and added a heel to her shoe. And this became all the rage, and it was an immediate fashion trend at court. Side note, only men and women of noble birth were allowed to wear shoes with heels.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
In fact, in France, anyone wearing heels without permission would be
Put to death.
put to death.
Wow.
Eventually, every woman could wear heels if she wanted to.
And then men in 1970s, we had stacks.
Yes, you did. There were so many sprained ankles among men. If you've ever seen those shoes,
Yeah.
so ugly.
Oh, they're horrible.
Just awful.
There's a picture in my yearbook, and I'm wearing stacks. It's embarrassing.
But you were 6'5", honey.
I was.
But eventually every woman could wear heels if they wanted to. And at first they're more practical, they're more chunky. But after World War II, a new style emerged, taking the fashion world by storm.
What was that?
The stiletto,
Oh.
which means dagger or knife in Italian. I know, I feel pretty powerful when I wear stilettos. Many think the stiletto is a sexy shoe because it elongates the legs, it forces your chest out and your rear end out at the same time. I'm guilty of having a few pairs of these. Some of them more expensive than others. Some of them I love more than others.
Yeah.
Women's shoes can be thousands and thousands of dollars. And lots of women, including me, have a mostly healthy relationship with shoes.
Not healthy.
It's healthy.
Notice how I didn't use the word unhealthy relationship with
And mostly.
shoes. And mostly healthy.
Yep.
I do love my shoes.
Yes, you do.
But Jerry Brudos is going to have an unhealthy relationship with shoes and the women who wear them. So when he's 5 years old, his mother does this to him, burns the shoes, beats him. But Jerry became friends with an older woman in his neighborhood who was very sweet to him, and he would fantasize that she was actually his mom. But soon after this woman became too sick for him to visit, she passes away. And he also had a friend his age in the neighborhood that he played with, a little girl. But she died from tuberculosis. So 2 females that were very kind to him, they died back to back.
Wow.
And he was really affected by this.
Yeah.
In 1945-46, the Brudos family moved to Riverton, California, and Jerry starts first grade. His teacher wears high heels every day, and she actually kept 2 pairs in the classroom. And when Jerry sees this second pair, he takes them. He hides them and he plans to take them home with him. But one of the kids in his class either sees it or Jerry confesses to it, but it's known that Jerry has taken these shoes.
Got it.
When Jerry is outed, his teacher is not happy with him, and Jerry is so embarrassed he leaves the classroom. Now, when his mom finds out, she's furious, and she is going to ridicule him for his behavior. Her disgust for sexual topics caused him to develop a secretive and abnormal development of sexual fantasies and the way he expressed his sexuality. So to her, a stiletto is a sex object. It's sexy, something that would make a woman sexy.
Right.
And she's totally against all of that. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it.
I'm talking about sex.
End of story.
Do we know what she looks like?
I do not know what Eileen looks like, but I know what Jerry looks like.
Right.
And if the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, even if she wore stilettos, I think she'd be okay.
Okay.
I don't think she would be considered sexy.
Gotcha.
But love, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
So
Right.
when he moves up to second grade, it's not a good year. He catches the measles and then proceeds to have a litany of other illnesses. He had a sore throat, swollen glands, laryngitis. He had to get several operations on his arms and legs to fight against fungal infections. And Jerry is suffering from headaches all the time. And his teachers think that maybe he needs glasses. But they take him to the ophthalmologist, and he checks him out and says he didn't really need glasses. But they gave him a prescription anyway, and it was so weak he might as well have not been wearing glasses at all. It's more of a placebo effect.
Okay.
But his headaches still persisted. Jerry's going to fail second grade. I didn't know you could fail second grade.
Yeah.
He does.
Okay.
But when his IQ is tested, he's well within the normal range of intelligence. Now, between the ages of 8 and 12 years old, Jerry's family moves 2 more times, this time to Grants Pass, Oregon, and then to Wallace Pond, Oregon. And while they're living at Grants Pass, the neighboring family had lots of teenage girls. And Jerry became friends with one of the brothers in that home, and the two of them started sneaking into these girls' bedrooms to look at their underwear. But Jerry didn't just look. He took their underwear too, and he kept a stash of girls' and women's underwear and lingerie in his bedroom. He's 12.
Good grief.
For the next few years, he's going to start sneaking into homes and stealing more and more bras and underwear. So now it's not just women's shoes, it's also their lingerie and stockings. And these mysterious and forbidden items aroused deep erotic feelings in him that he couldn't explain or understand. And according to Dr. Catherine Ramsland, I love her, by the way, she's one of my teachers at Writers Police Academy, she believes of Jerry, quote, "It is likely that putting these shoes, the ones he brought home as a 5-year-old, off limits, he eventually attached to women's high-heeled shoes in general an aura that pervaded Brudos's developing sexuality."
Okay.
A foot and a shoe fetish is called podophilia. And for the sake of transparency, a fetish is a form of sexual desire in which arousal and gratification are linked to a particular object, an activity, or a body part. It can be a non-sexual body part that triggers sexually arousing fantasies and sexual urges in a person. Most people with fetishes, mostly men, by the way, must have the object of their attraction in sight or close by to be fantasizing about it in order to become sexually aroused and climax. So to be clear, a fetish is not a problem if it doesn't cause problems for the person who has the fetish or their partner.
Interesting.
But if a person is suffering anxiety, depression, a lot of stress, insomnia, or whatever because of their fetish, then it is a fetishistic disorder and should be treated. It becomes a problem when the person with the fetish is desperate, compulsive, or distressed to the point of suicide over their fetish, and apparently a foot fetish is the most common of them all.
Yeah, I never understood the whole foot fetish thing.
Well, that's because I danced for 25 years and I have dancer's feet, and nobody would have a fetish over these feet.
You don't have ugly feet. Stop it. But no, I seriously though, I every time I hear something about a foot fetish, I'm like, feet are just they're not ugly, but they're not. I don't get it.
They don't do it for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it for you. Well, some guys like feet.
That's weird.
And Jerry's foot and shoe fetish is going to become deadly. So it is not innocuous. It is bad.
Got it.
When Jerry's a kid, a teenage girl visited his home. He tried to steal her shoes. The girl was a family friend, and she felt comfortable laying down on Jerry's bed to rest, but then she woke up to Jerry trying to steal the shoes off of her feet. Now, while the Brudoses are living in Wallace Pond, his father, Henry, goes back into farming.
All right.
In 1952, when Jerry's older brother, Larry, is 16 and he is 13, his brother, who was in high school and around girls with his hormones flying all over the place, Larry had a normal fascination with the nude female body. Larry would draw pictures of nude women and hide them from his mother, who he knew would be very angry with him if she saw them. But Jerry found the box where Larry kept his nudie drawings. He picked the lock to get into them. And while he's doing this, his mother catches Jerry. But he doesn't out his older brother, Larry. He tells his mom that the pictures are his. So he doesn't tattle on Larry. I don't know why. In 1955, Jerry is 16 and in the throes of puberty. The girls at his high school didn't like him very much. He was a little bit overweight, he had severe acne, and meanwhile, his mother, who had extreme disgust for anything sexual, like I said, when Jerry has a wet dream, she makes him wash his own sheets by hand.
Yeah.
But none of this is deterring Jerry's thoughts. He would have daydreams about capturing a girl and forcing her to obey his commands while begging for mercy.
Really?
I think he hates his mom so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
And something as innocent as having a wet dream when you're like going through puberty, she's mad at him. And so everything's bad.
He's 13 at this time?
He's 16 at this time.
Oh, he's 16 now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also in 1955 that his family once again moves, this time to Corvallis, Oregon, where Larry is now in college at Oregon State University, and he is studying electronics. Now, Jerry isn't satisfied any longer just to steal lingerie, which he uses to pleasure himself with. In the late summer of 1955, Jerry steals an 18-year-old girl's underwear. These are like forbidden charms that gave him very erotic feelings that he couldn't process and he couldn't explain. And he decides he wants to get a nude photo of this girl. So he doesn't just have to rely on her underwear alone for his sexual gratification.
Right.
He puts together this elaborate plan. That's, I got my air quotes up. First, he dug a hole in a hillside where he planned to keep these girls as sex slaves.
Wow.
I don't know how many girls he was thinking he was going to get.
Wow.
Then he gets a teenage girl to come home with him in order to get her to pose nude for him. Jerry asked her to come to his house, telling her that he could help her get her underwear back. So he steals her underwear, then comes to her and says, I can help you get your underwear back. That he tells her that he's on an undercover police mission to solve thefts in the area or something to that nature.
I work with.
And when she said to him, you're not a police officer, you're too young, he says, well, nobody would suspect a 17-year-old kid as an undercover agent. That's why he was doing it. And
sounds like True Lies.
I know. And this girl is in her head is like, okay, maybe that makes sense. And she trusted him. So when this girl arrives at his house, Jerry, who is wearing a mask and wielding a knife, jumps her immediately. At knife point, he forces her to take off her clothes, and he took several photos of her. The masked man left, and the girl got dressed and started to run away. But before she could get away, she runs right smack dab into Jerry, who tells her, I just saw this masked man running out of here, and he had locked me in a barn outside, and I'm just now able to escape and help you. But she knew the attacker's voice, even though he was wearing a mask, and it matched Jerry's.
Yeah.
And they had the exact same body type. It was Jerry. So she runs out of the house, but she never reported it to the police. I'm assuming it's because she was embarrassed.
I'm sure.
Also in 1956, he lures a 17-year-old girl to his car, and he tells her that they're going to go for a drive. He drove her to a deserted farmhouse where he demanded that she take off her clothes. And when she refused, he beat her within an inch of her life. But a couple who's passing by stops at the scene, and they call police. And Jerry tells them, well, she fell out of the car, and I'm trying to calm her down. But then he changed his story, saying that some weirdo had attacked her and then run away, and he was there to help her. But this couple who happens upon the scene, they think Jerry's the actual weirdo.
Right.
And they took this girl to the police station. And Jerry tells the police that he had stopped and to help this girl himself. He was helping, not hurting, and he was not the attacker.
Look, this isn't my fault.
And the couple didn't believe Jerry, and the police didn't believe Jerry, and eventually the Oregon State Police got a confession out of Jerry. Yeah. You want to know why?
No.
Because they looked in his car and they found women's underwear, photos, and photographic equipment.
Yeah.
Jerry's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Right.
Your head ain't right.
Jerry is arrested for assault and battery, and when they searched his room at his parents' home, There they found his extensive collection of women's underwear and shoes and photos he had taken of his very first assault. Now, because of his age and the fact that he was a first-time offender, Jerry was committed to Oregon State Hospital for evaluation and psychiatric treatment. The doctors there didn't think he was mentally ill or suffering from hallucinations or delusions or illusions. One psychiatrist even said he showed no signs of homicidal tendencies. He's officially diagnosed on April 16, 1956, with adjustment reaction of adolescents with sexual deviation and fetishism. His doctors took note of his hatred toward women, especially his mother. And while he's undergoing treatment, he tells the doctors of his secret obsessions, that he had a collection of women's clothing and that he had a fantasy of putting kidnapped girls in freezers so he could rearrange their frozen bodies into sexually explicit positions.
Wow.
That's called foreshadowing. Yes. So he's been institutionalized, but they let him out every day to go to school at North Salem High School in Dallas, Oregon. He also receives a second diagnosis while living at the hospital and going to high school, borderline schizophrenic. And I feel like back in the 50s, if they couldn't put a label on something, they just called it schizophrenia.
Yeah.
But he's confessed to all these thoughts, and I think they're saying, he's okay to go to school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeez.
Jerry will remain at the hospital for 9 months and is eventually discharged when his doctors decided he was no longer a danger to society. The doctors felt he just needed to grow up a little bit. But in 1957, when he's out of the psych ward, he goes back into high school at Corvallis, where he graduates, but with a low GPA. We know where he is at the high school. He's got a low GPA. He does graduate.
Okay.
They're probably thinking, get this kid out of here, you know?
Yeah.
Just, it's not second grade. We're not going to make him do it over again. Just get him out of there.
Take you and your underwear out of here.
Yeah. Jerry starts college in the fall of 1957. He goes to Oregon State first, and then he switches to Salem Technical Vocational School. And for the next 2 years, he would sometimes attend class, but he eventually gave up and decided that school wasn't for him.
Yeah, well, what is for him?
Well, when he is 20, he decides to join the United States Army. And on March 9th, 1959, he heads off to basic training in Fort Gordon, Georgia, and is eventually stationed at Fort Ord, California. He was granted the rank of E2, which is, from my Googling, between a private and a private first class. In 1959, it's the same year, while he's stationed in California, that he begins to have dreams of a Korean girl seducing him, which is wildly specific.
Yeah.
But then again, I've never lived in the head of a 20-year-old man.
Yeah, that has a underwear fetish.
Right. Or any man. Thank God I'm not living in the head of men. Who knows what's going on in those noggins of your all. So who knows?
Not much. There's a lot of echoing.
Hello.
like an empty gymnasium.
Hello.
Yeah.
By the fall of 1959, in October, Jerry goes to see the Army chaplain to tell him about these dreams, and the Padre referred him to the Army shrink, Captain Theodore J. Berry, and Dr. Berry promptly discharged Jerry from the Army because of his, quote, bizarre obsessions, end quote.
Instant sectioning.
He's like Klinger in MASH, except Klinger wasn't knucking futz. He just wanted out.
He just wanted out. Yeah.
When he's discharged from the Army, he moves back in with his mom and dad. I can't think of anything worse. He moves back in with his mom and dad, and he gets his FCC license and starts working at a Corvallis radio station as a broadcast technician. It's now 1960, and Jerry is 21 years old. Now, by the time he's 22 in 1962, he's working with a 17-year-old girl named Darcy Metzler at the radio station. These two start going out, and Darcy's parents did not like Jerry.
Hmm.
And maybe it was because her parents didn't like her dating Jerry that she gave him so much attention. Maybe it was kind of a I'll show you thing.
Right.
But Jerry's 22 and she's 17. And Jerry's never had a female fawn over him this much.
Mm.
And these two were married within a few months of meeting and dating.
Wow.
But even Darcy can't escape Jerry's fetishes. He would often force her, get this, to do housework with no clothes on, well, except for a pair of stilettos.
Wow.
Now, housework is hard enough,
Yeah.
but to do it butt-ass naked and in high heels, I mean, that's like torture. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not long after the wedding, Darcy's pregnant, and they give birth to their daughter, Megan, in 1963, when Jerry is 23 years old. But Darcy's later going to say it wasn't much of a marriage because he treated her more like a servant. But these three, the new Brudos family, will move up and down the West Coast because Jerry can't seem to hold down a job. And not only that, Jerry isn't much of a father. He didn't like the stress of raising a child, and what he really wanted was more of Darcy's time so she could play out his fantasies. And I will say, when Darcy is or does play his fantasy girl, he does not attack any other women.
Okay.
In 1965, Jerry lands a position at West Salem Electronics as a technician, but he leaves this job and the family moves again. By the way, his friends and neighbors will say that Jerry didn't drink, he didn't smoke, and he rarely used profanity. But Jerry's sexual fantasies have leaked into his marriage. He demanded that Darcy pose nude for him. He asked her again to clean the house while wearing the high heels, and she does comply with, some of his fetishes with her feet and her shoes and the cleaning and the taking of the nude photos.
Right.
And again, if you're in a monogamous relationship with somebody and it's a trusting relationship and you both consent to doing that, go for it.
Yeah, more power to you.
More power to you. Darcy's not really consenting to this. She's just doing it because he's bossing her around. She feels like a servant.
Right.
In 1969, by the time he's 28, they've settled in Portland, Oregon, where Jerry gets a job as this electrician again. Darcy is pregnant again, and Jerry is super excited, thinking this time maybe he will have a son. And they do, in fact, have a son. They name him Jason. But at this point, Darcy is so tired of Jerry and all of his shenanigans that when it comes time to deliver the baby, she refuses to allow Jerry to be present during the birth of their child.
Really?
Yeah, she's just fed up with him and having to cater to all of Jerry's sexual fantasies.
Right.
And after she has their son, she disconnects from him. No more fantasies. She stops having sex with him altogether. And Jerry is deeply affected by this. And he regresses back to stealing shoes and women's underwear. Not long after Darcy tells him he can't be in the birthing room, by the way, Robbie Williams, the famous singer from England, from the UK, he was on the Graham Norton show after his wife had given birth, and Graham asked him if he was there. Were you in the birthing room when the baby was born?
Right.
And he said yes.
Yeah, I was.
Well done,
It was like my favourite pub burning down.
But he said it was like watching his favorite pub burn down. The birth of his child was like watching his favorite pub burn down. He said it was simultaneously devastating and strangely magnificent, which I found hilarious.
That's hilarious.
But Jerry feels rejected, okay?
Yeah.
And in 1967, he starts to prowl his neighbors' homes for women's underwear and shoes. He's breaking into these houses. He's stealing bras and panties and stilettos. And not long after Jason, by the way, come for my underwear all you want. Don't touch the shoes.
That's the red line right there.
That is my line in the sand. I don't care. Go through the lingerie drawer. Knock yourself out. Don't touch my shoes. Not long after Jason is born, Jerry's walking down in downtown Portland when he noticed a woman. More specifically, he noticed her shoes. He began stalking this woman and he followed her home. He waited for her to fall asleep, broke into her house, and attempted to steal her stilettos, her high heels. She wakes up while he's in the process of stealing her shoes, and he choked her until she went limp.
Wow.
Then he raped her, stole the shoes, and fled the scene. And the woman's limp body aroused him. So now there's something new that he sort of added to his weird sexual repertoire.
Right.
That same year, 1967 was a big year for Jerry. That same year, while working as an electrician, Jerry is electrocuted by 480 volts.
Whoa.
He was knocked off his feet. He was dazed and confused, and he suffered a neck injury and some burns. He's never hospitalized. I read that, and all I could think of were the cartoons where they get electrocuted and they're just smoking afterwards.
Yeah. Wow.
I read in one source that it's after he's electrocuted that he began having fantasies of keeping corpses in his freezer and dressing them in clothes.
Holy.
But I also read that was from his stint in the psych ward at Oregon State. So who knows?
Yeah.
But this is one of his obsessions.
You know, I like to make comments as you're talking, but this stuff is just so bizarre to me that I'm kind of speechless.
Well, Jerry's a good one to be fascinated and shocked and appalled at all at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
But Jerry's obsession is escalating, and he doesn't even have to go looking for a new woman in heels to attack, because now he's stalking women. He's following them around, mowing them down and stealing their shoes and then running away. Again,
She will cut a bitch.
I would cut a bitch for doing that to me. Like just on the street, knocking them over, stealing their shoes and running off.
Wow.
Can't imagine.
Did he have any kind of like mask on or anything?
No.
Just doing it.
Just being Jerry.
Jeez.
January 26, 1968, 19-year-old Linda K. Slawson is from Aloha, Oregon. She's selling encyclopedias door to door, 10 miles away in Portland. And she's in Jerry's neighborhood. When she rings Jerry's doorbell, he invited her into his home. He told her he wanted to purchase her encyclopedias, and eventually he convinced her to come down to his workshop in the basement garage. Then while his wife and children are upstairs in their home, he takes Linda Kay into this basement and hits her over the head with a 2x4.
Oh.
And before she could scream, he strangled her to death.
Wow.
He didn't get rid of her body. No. He spent hours in the basement taking off Linda's clothes and putting her in other clothes that he had collected or stolen.
Jeez.
Jerry then stashed her body in his garage. Before he disposed of her body, he removed her clothes and put several undergarments from his collection back on her dead body. But he wanted a souvenir, so he cut off her left foot with her high heel still on.
Wow.
And he put it in the freezer. He wanted to save her foot in order to put other shoes in his collection on her foot.
Good grief. Hey, listen, just go to a Montgomery Ward's and get a mannequin. I mean, come on.
For real.
Jeez.
When he needs to get rid of this body, he ties her body to a car engine. He fakes a flat tire on a bridge, and when the coast is clear, he dumps her over the bridge and into the Willamette River. He does all of this without his wife, Darcy, or his children being the wiser. Now, Linda's parents alerted the police when she failed to return home from selling encyclopedias, and a search of her route was conducted. People in the neighborhood confirmed that she had knocked on their door that night, but somewhere along the way, she just simply vanished. And this is the beginning of Jerry's 18-month killing spree.
Wow.
Sometime after the murder, Jerry, Darcy, and the kids moved to a new house in the capital city of Salem. July 1968, Stephanie Vico is reported missing in Portland. Some secondary sources list this 16-year-old girl as a possible victim of Jerry's, based largely on later accounts of his own confessions. However, he was never charged in connection with her disappearance, and publicly available records provide almost no corroborated detail about when she vanished or how or when she was last seen, or if her remains were ever conclusively identified.
Okay.
10 months after he kills Linda and puts her foot in the freezer, on November 26, 1968, Jan Susan Whitney, a 23-year-old college student at the University of Oregon, is driving home for Thanksgiving when her car breaks down along Interstate 5 between Salem and Albany, Oregon. Jerry pulls up and offered to help her. He told her that if she came home with him, he could call for a tow truck or grab his own tools to fix the car himself. She agreed, but as soon as she got into his car, he pulled out a leather strap and strangled her from behind. When she was dead, he raped her. But he's not finished. When he got her corpse to his home, he hoisted her body from a pulley in his garage and had sex with her dead body several times.
Jeez.
He dressed her in the various clothes he had in his collections. Then at one point, he cut off her breast and made a resin mold of it so he could use it as a paperweight.
Ugh.
Then he tossed her body in the river, tying it to a railroad iron or a car engine. There are differing accounts of which one that he did.
Jeez.
But he does tie her with an interesting knot. It isn't a bowline or anything nautical, but Jerry's own unique way of tying a knot. And he's also used some copper wire. Now, Jan's car will be found at a rest stop just north of Albany. No one had any idea what had happened to her, but then an anonymous letter arrived later that week. The writer claimed to have watched from a rest stop restaurant when Jan left in a car with a strange man. And there was a public appeal for this writer of this anonymous letter to come forward, but they never revealed themselves. And maybe it was Jerry. I don't know.
Right.
A few months later, on March 27, 1969, Karen Sprinker, a 19-year-old Oregon State student who was visiting with her mother in Salem, goes missing. Karen had plans to meet her mother downtown so they could do some shopping together. Jerry is dressed in women's clothing. He waits for Karen to pull into the parking garage and get out of her car. Then he kidnapped Karen at gunpoint, forcing her into his car. He takes her back to his house. And once back in his garage, he forces Karen to put on several types of women's underwear while he photographed her. Then he forced her to pose nude for photographs. Then he raped her and hanged her by her neck from a pulley in the garage, strangling her to death. Then he had sex with her dead body several times before cutting off both of her breasts to make plastic molds.
Jeez.
Then again, he tied her body to a car engine to weigh it down and tossed her body into the river. Now, two young girls informed police that a large man dressed in drag was on the parking garage roof where Karen's abandoned car is found on the day she goes missing. So now he's dressed as a woman doing this.
Yeah.
By the way, Jerry's now 30 years old. April 21st, 1969, Jerry encounters 24-year-old Sharon Wood in a parking garage at Portland State University. He attempted to kidnap her at gunpoint and told her not to scream. Sharon attempted to fend off his attack by biting his thumb until it bled.
Nice.
And Jerry tackled her to the ground when she shouted out for help, and he beat her unconscious. But an oncoming car spooked Jerry, and he fled the scene of the crime. Now, police failed to make any immediate connections between him and this attack and the other women who have gone missing. April 22nd, 1969, Jerry encounters 15-year-old Gloria Jean Smith. She's walking along the side of the train tracks near Parrish Middle School. A green car pulls alongside her, and a strange man hopped out and tried to drag Gloria inside, pointing what appeared to be a cheap plastic gun at her head.
Oh, wow.
I mean, maybe she's thinking to herself, he can't hurt me with this
Right.
play gun.
Sure.
But she fights back and she's screaming and she breaks away. And a local woman saw what was happening from her garden and she calls out, and Jerry jumps back behind the wheel of this green car and he drives away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. April 23rd and 24th, 1969, Jerry poses as a police officer in order to stop Linda Dawn Salee. Linda is 22 years old, and she lived in the Portland, Beaverton area. She was a secretary for a moving or a removal company and a part-time student at Portland State University. On April 23rd, Linda is near the Lloyd Shopping Center Mall buying birthday gifts for her fiancé when Jerry approaches her in the parking lot. And he tells her, as he's posing as this police officer, he's even flashing a fake badge. He says to her, "You're being arrested for shoplifting." Then he coerces her to come with him where he promptly kidnaps her at gunpoint. And once Jerry got Linda alone in his basement, which, by the way, the children and Darcy were forbidden from going into, I don't know what excuse he gave for that.
Yeah, I mean, why would...
you just
okay.
can't go into my man cave. It's locked off,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
But if his wife wanted him, she had to buzz an intercom to get him to come out of there, or for her to be able to go in there.
Well, that's what you do to me in the studio. I'm just kidding.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But he does get her into this garage, this basement, and he ties her up and he gags her and he leaves her there. And she has to be terrified. But he's going back upstairs to meet his family for dinner. And here's what's happened. He gets her home, and his wife and kids were not supposed to be there. And he's like, oh, how am I going to get her? How am I going to smuggle her into the house? Well, he does. He smuggles her into the house, and I think she thought if she was just cooperative with him, he would let her go.
Right.
But that's not what's going to happen. So she's downstairs tied up while he's at dinner, and he's going to worry about whether or not she's going to get out of these restraints, because she fights back against Jerry, and it really makes him mad. And when dinner is over, he goes back to this basement garage, and he tortures her for hours. Sexual abuse, rape. He took photographs. He even clamped electrical cables to her and hooked them to a power socket.
Oh, my God.
He wanted to see if he ran an electrical current through her body, if it would spasm.
Jeez.
He rapes Linda, strangles her, then mutilates her body. He ties her body to a car transmission and also throws her into the Willamette River.
Jeez.
Now, Linda is reported missing on April 24th. The next day, her car is found abandoned at a parking garage, and police begin to realize all of these disappearances, all these girls, it might be the same guy.
Right,
Do we
right.
have a serial killer?
Sure.
And it's going to be confirmed because on May 10th, 1969, a local fisherman sees what he thinks is a body. And police arrive and they discover that it's Linda Salee's body in the Long Tom River. Her body is still weighed down by the auto transmission. And the medical examiner says it's a homicide. And the police start to search the river looking for more evidence associated with Linda's murder. And what do they find?
Yeah.
2 days later, they find Karen Sprinker's body,
Sure.
just 50 feet away from where Linda's body was recovered. Karen was tied to an old engine, which caused her to remain submerged. Jerry had cut out her breasts as souvenirs and filled the holes with brown paper towels. And then he put a bra over top of that from his collection of women's lingerie over her mangled chest.
Jeez.
And both of these women's bodies were severely mutilated. But the police at this point, they're like, is this the same guy? Is it not the same guy? Because they're both weighted down. They're tossed in the water. It's in the same area. Come on, guys.
It doesn't take a
Come
genius.
on. I think part of it was they didn't want to cause panic amongst all these women that they've got this guy on the loose.
Yeah.
But being able to put a human body that's attached to the added weight of an engine or a transmission would require somebody who had a lot of muscle.
Right.
And police believe, because Karen was a student at Oregon State, they think maybe somebody at Oregon State has something to do with this. So they start interviewing students who lived in her dorm. Now, before these two bodies are even found, Jerry is up to a new game. In May of 1969, Jerry begins to phone dorm rooms at Oregon State University, and he's just walking around campus. But he's telling these women he's a Vietnam vet, and he's asking these women out on dates. And one of the things he does is on the phone, he just calls a number and he'll blindly ask for, is Susan there? Hoping that there's a Susan there.
Right.
And he's arranging all these blind dates.
Wow.
But when police start questioning the girls at Karen's dorm, they hear about this red-headed kind of pudgy dude that was walking around campus asking girls out.
It's always the redheads. Come
Always those freaking redheads. I mean, what are you going to do?
on. We're either the nerds on TV
Or the killer.
Or the killer. Jeez.
At this point, police start staking out all the areas where these young, attractive women are hanging out. And they interviewed these students at Oregon State University. They start hearing these stories about this Vietnam vet who had called a few women looking for a date, asking just with a random name. They're telling them the whole story. And one female student comes forward and says, I actually went on one of those blind dates.
Oh.
And she gives the police a description of Jerry Brudos, red hair, kind of pudgy. She also told the police that this guy wanted to talk about or had mentioned the bodies that were found in the river. And he had also made a remark that freaked her out, explaining how he could or would strangle her. He asked her, aren't you afraid I might strangle you?
Wow.
And their date had started out innocent enough. It was lunch and coffee, but then towards the end of the date, he put his hand on her shoulder and started massaging it. And then he asked her to pretend to be sad so he could pretend that he was comforting her. And after this, she's like, I'm out.
I'm tapping out. Yeah.
I'm out, tapping out. She calls off the date early before he can ever get her alone. They're in public this whole time.
Right.
Now, police decide to set up a trap for this guy, and they ask this girl, do you think you could see if he'll go on another date with you? And so when he contacted her again, and he did, she sets up another date. And when he arrives on May 18th, 1969, at the time she's supposed to meet him, detectives are also at that meeting point, and they see this guy just sitting in his car waiting. So they approach him, and he speaks with them very calmly. He's not rattled at all.
Right.
He told them that he was Jerry Brudos and that he was just a lonely man with a wife at home, but he was trying to find love. And they ask him what he did for a living, and he tells them, I'm an electrician. And the cops are kind of like, wait a minute, wasn't there copper wire on these two women that were tied with those weird knots to the engines? Yeah. So Jerry looks like the man the girls had described, and the police are pretty sure he might be their killer, but they didn't have any concrete evidence that linked him to the two bodies. So they had to release him, but they're going to keep him under surveillance.
Sure.
The police used the information that Jerry freely gave them about his whereabouts during the times of the girls going missing. And in both cases, Jerry was either working near or lived near the areas where these girls disappeared. Well, the one selling encyclopedias was in his neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, the police decide to go back and look at any unsolved assaults or missing persons in the area. And this is when they find Sharon Wood and Gloria Smith. The police also discovered that Jerry's mom owned a green Carmen Ghia, and Gloria Smith had told the police that the man who tried to abduct her was driving a green car.
Yeah.
These two young girls that Jerry failed to kidnap, and both Sharon and Gloria, they're shown lineups of men's photos, including Jerry Brudos in the mix, and they both pointed to him and said, that's the guy.
That's him.
On May 29th, 1969, police feel like they have enough to get a search warrant, and when they arrive, they find nylon rope, copper wire, photographs of the dead women, and most horrifying of all, the trophies he'd kept.
Ugh.
Shoes, underwear, breast tissue, and don't forget his foot in the freezer. They see his pulley system installed in the roof and the lockers full of photographic equipment. women's clothing and shoes. There were also lists of phone numbers and addresses, all sorority houses at Oregon State University. In the attic, they find even more boxes of photo negatives and prints. It was women posing with clothes, without clothes, in sexual suggestive poses. Some of the photos even included Jerry, and others were just the faces of the most recent missing women.
Wow.
And the police realized that these women aren't alive in these photos. These women are dead in these photos. Now police can arrest Jerry. And on May 29th, 1969, while riding in the car with his wife, police pull his car over. Jerry, being the mental giant that he was, jumped in the back seat and covered himself up with a blanket. He's trying to get out of town with his wife and kids. He'd packed up the whole family. He was heading north. But they had put out an APB on him and they tracked him down. And the officers forced him out of the car and placed him under arrest.
That's about time.
But police catch up with him, and once Jerry's captured, the police begin this interrogation process. And he thinks he's pretty smart, like he's trying to play mind games with the police, but it's not really working. When they do arrest Jerry, they strip him down, and when he drops his trousers, what do you think he has on?
Please tell me it's not a thong.
He has on a pair of silky women's underwear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
On June 1st, 1969, Jerry's speaking with his wife, and he attempts to convince her to burn clothing and other evidence from jail. And Darcy's like, not on your life am I helping you.
Yeah, on your own, pal.
Yeah. June 2nd and 3rd, 1969, investigator Jim Stovall obtains evidential confessions from Jerry, first followed by confessions to the murders of the two recently discovered bodies, as well as the murder of Linda Slawson and Jan Whitney. And he tells them everything, and he's kind of proud of everything he's done. June 4th, 1969, Jerry Brudos is arraigned for the murder of Karen Sprinker. Brudos pleads not guilty by reason of insanity.
Of course he did.
In June of 1969, he is tested by several psychiatrists. He shows an above-average IQ and cognition and is deemed not criminally insane. He is diagnosed as antisocial personality manifested by fetishism, transvestitism, exhibitionism, voyeurism, and especially sadism.
Yeah.
June 27th, 1969, as the evidence mounted, Jerry Brudos was eventually charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for the murders of Jan Whitney, Linda Salee, and Karen Sprinker. Jerry decides to revoke his plea of not guilty by reason of insanity and plead guilty. Well, dude, they already said you weren't insane.
Yeah.
That same day, he is sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. There is no death penalty in Oregon. He was not charged with the murder of Linda Slawson, as her body has never been found. Then, in a twist of fate, a neighbor comes forward and tells police that she saw Darcy Brudos help carry a body to the car.
What?
They believe it's Karen Sprinker's body on the night she went missing. So on August 7th, 1969, Darcy is arraigned and charged with aiding and abetting in the first-degree murder of Karen Sprinker. And on September 25th of the same year, Darcy testifies and claims that she had no involvement. Darcy is found not guilty. Even if it was true, there was no proof. August of 1970, Darcy divorces Jerry. She also moves away and changes her name and the names of her children. And she got a court order forbidding her children from visiting or ever writing to their father.
Wow.
So from the time he's incarcerated, June 27th, 1969, through January of 1961, Jerry has a lot of trouble in prison. He's hit in the head with a bucket of water. He's frequently beaten by fellow inmates. On January 1st, 1970, he is treated for rectal bleeding that was classified as being caused by hemorrhoids or, quote, other, end quote.
Oh, man.
From 1969 till May 25th, 1977, Jerry and his attorneys have several failed appeals in appellate courts.
I'm sure they did.
His last appeal is rejected on May 25th, 1977. While he's in prison, everybody is studying Jerry. There's even an episode in one of my favorite Netflix shows, Mindhunter, where they come in and they interview him, and they can't get anything out of him, and they bring him a pair of shoes.
Oh.
Yes. But while he's incarcerated, he studied a lot, and he received 2 degrees in science and 2 degrees in, of all things, counseling. Also, while he's behind bars, he would write to women's shoe companies asking for shoes.
Jeez.
What the heck, man?
Wow.
In 1999, at the age of 60, Jerry Brudos goes up for parole. Parole is not granted, and the parole board makes it clear to the victims' families that Jerry will never be set free. He's been convicted of 3 murders. He's confessed to 4, but 12 women went missing in this time of his killing spree. Jerry Brudos died at the age of 67 on March 28th, 2006, after suffering from terminal liver cancer. And again, he may have killed even more women than what we know. And are there bodies at the bottoms of these rivers and lakes?
Yeah.
Still. But that is the story of the man who loved shoes and women's underwear and was willing to kill for it, Jerry Brudos. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, my take on this, I don't have any. It's just so bizarre. That whole world of fetishes and everything is just so far beyond. I think it's sort of like the reason I like to watch, cop shows and the prison shows and things like that, because it's such the antithesis of where I am in my life that it's just, I don't know.
You mean you're not smuggling heroin in your rectum every time we travel somewhere?
Not lately.
Yeah. I mean, the things he watches, y'all, every time I'm like, oh my gosh, again? They're taking him to the hospital again?
Yeah, exactly. But no, so I'm glad they got him. I'm glad they locked him up. And, I wish they would catch all those kind of guys that do stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting case because you don't really hear much about another killer or another serial killer who's like stealing underwear and shoes too. And, people throw around the word fetish a lot. They'll be like, oh, I have a shoe fetish. I have a this fetish or whatever. You really don't. You should be careful.
Yeah.
Throwing that word around now that you know about Jerry Brudos.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's go with something a little less disturbing than a fetish with just some stupid criminals with Bless Your Heart.
Well, bless your heart.
All right, number 1, I'm calling next time, try stealing a Milky Way.
okay.
When Stephen Crane broke into a Ravelli Republic, and that's in Montana, newsroom, he used the computers to watch porn and check Facebook. Then Crane doused the office with a fire extinguisher, took some candy, and left. It wasn't difficult to find him, though. However, the police just followed the trail of stolen M&Ms that led to his sister's place across the way.
No. It's like E.T. with the Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, these people.
I know.
Seriously?
I know.
Okay.
All right, number 2. Hey, what's your handle there, good buddy? When police in Vancouver, Canada, asked to search Jason Pache's, I hope I pronounced that correctly, apartment for drugs, he was not a suspect. In fact, they were looking for someone else, but that all changed when they got a look at his name on his phone, and it was listed as Jason Pache, drug dealer.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so he was just helping him out.
That's like me. I have our appliance repair guy in the phone is Kevin, the appliance guy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or our Roomba.
Our Roomba, which one?
In the den.
Vlad the inhaler.
There you go.
The
Vlad.
one upstairs is Mother Sucker. You got to name them. So
I know.
Of course, we can come up with good ones.
Yeah. All right, number 3, and finally.
Finally.
It's all about the Benjamins.
Okay.
At a local restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee, a waitress was handed a $100 bill to pay for the customer's tab.
Okay.
The only problem, instead of Ben Franklin, Abe Lincoln was staring back at her.
On a $100 bill?
James Ryan of Memphis was arrested and charged with forgery. So there you go.
Counterfeit? So they did counterfeit money, but they put Lincoln, they put a $5 bill face on a $100 bill.
Yeah, once again, not the sharpest tool.
I'm telling you what, man. Get your president, get your dead presidents right, y'all.
Lord. So there's your stupid criminals.
Well, if you have a bless your heart or you know somebody's heart who needs blessing, all you got to do is go to hitchedtohomicide.com. When you get there, there's a pull-down menu, and while you're there, you can suggest a case. Like this one was suggested by Emily Cornett. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Emily.
Or you can tell us about your brush with true crime.
Yes.
That's my amazing husband out there.
And that's my beautiful bride in the booth.
Join us next time on Hitched to Homicide.
Bye, y'all.